Welcome back to Metropole Television. You're watching Business AM, and this morning we are privileged to be joined by Reginald Kadzutu. I always struggle to say this name, Reginald. Kadzutu, isn't it?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, let me stick to Reginald. Good. Now, what we're going to do, therefore, is take you through the biggest economic issues that we're waking up to today as we do all of it this 18th of February 2020. Now, the first issue that we're talking about here is how counties now have got 151 billion shillings. That's not pretty much exactly what we're talking about here, because yes, they're supposed to get it. But now, by February 14th, the Treasury had released 151.4 billion shillings to all the 47 county governments as the equitable share of revenue raised nationally this financial year. Now, the Treasury Okuriyatan also says that the devolved governments had also received 8.09 billion shillings as conditional grants in the current financial year. As of June 30th, 2018, he said that out of the 88.98 billion pending bills presented for audit to the Office of the Auditor General, bills amounting to 51.2 billion or 58% were reported as payable. Now, the update also indicated that the bills amounting to 37 billion or 42% lacked sufficient documentation to support services rendered or work done, and therefore were not factored in the 151 billion shillings. Even as the cash is released by the National Treasury, it is also clear that it is only 16 counties that have cleared all eligible, that is, bills, and verified by the Office of the Auditor General. Now, the counties that have a clean bill include, and I'm going to tell you this morning, Embu, Kwale, Laikipia, Makueni, and Nyamira. Others are Nyandarua, Nyeri, Uasin Gishu, Lamu, with other 9 making plans to clear the bills. Now, should the Treasury concern itself with pending bills? That's exactly what we're talking about, because we do know that as per this morning, we are talking about only 58% factored in the 151 billion shillings, and 42% is not factored here because the Treasury says that some of this money they've released, number one, is supposed to go directly to pending bills, and some of these counties do not have the relevant documentation to support that. Good. That's exactly what we start this morning. Reginald, Treasury has been really tough on the counties this year. They're telling them, we cannot give you money, and then out of your books, you do have pending bills as well. Is that only the counties that have been cleared here are just around 16 counties. So we have a big majority of these other counties that are not going to be factored in the 151, because yes, according to the Treasury, you're not supposed to receive our monies if essentially you're not using that money to settle your pending bills. It is not the mandate of the Treasury to actually speak about pending bills. No, because their work is to pretty much go according to the Constitution, release the money into the counties. But what standpoint do they have? What mandate do they have, therefore, to actually come up and say, well, guys, we're not going to give you this money because we do know your county has pending bills. Should we leave that to other officers that are actually relevant to doing this job?
I think the action of the Treasury acts
Yes.
like an indictment that the devolved units are not able to do the job. And I think that's a narrative that Treasury is trying to bring out by
Yes.
taking such actions of you have to pay bills first, and they're acting like an accounting officer for the devolved units.
Yes.
But I think the bigger problem when you come to look at devolution in Kenya, I think I've said it before that we rushed to devolution without actually thinking of how devolution is going to work.
Yes.
And it was pushed more by politics rather than economists. So I'll speak from an economic perspective. You have devolved all the cost to the counties, but you have not devolved the ability to generate revenue to the counties. which means economically we have not devolved everything, because everything is still run by Treasury. That's why Treasury says we'll give you this amount of money. This is supposed to be a semi-autonomous government in its own,
yes.
Which has its own structures and its finance committees and its own budgeting process that they follow, going through their county assemblies, and they therefore should be able to plan what they want to spend the money on, and be able to generate the revenue. So you cannot come to me and tell me budget how you're going to spend the money, but you've not given me the powers to actually generate that revenue by myself. I'm reliant on what comes from Treasury, and that's why you find governors, senators, everyone is just fighting with National Treasury to say, no, is it supposed to be this percentage of these accounts or this percentage of these accounts? We can actually get away from that if we start also devolving the revenue generating capability into the counties.
Yes.
If we devolve revenue generating capabilities to the counties, you also start seeing which counties are viable, which counties are not viable to be counties.
Yes.
Then the element of merging counties can come into place. Because if you're a county who cannot generate revenue to meet your basic salaries of your county staff, then you're a county that should actually not be in existence, because you start relying on National Treasury to even pay your salaries and all. So the whole structure of devolution needs to be looked at critically from an economic perspective. Does it make economic sense to have 47 counties? Do these counties have the ability to actually sustain themselves? Because
yes.
How long are we going to go giving counties money? If you look at the last, is it 2018 or 2019, I think the county that generated the most revenue by itself, I think, was Nairobi, and that figure itself was not even more than 8 billion, 9 billion.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, if everyone else is not able to generate even $1 billion in their own revenue, then you have no business running a county government.
Yes.
Literally. So that is what actually needs to be fixed.
Yes.
Instead of Treasury trying to control who is paid, who is not paid, especially if you're not there during the contracting process, because it now becomes legal battles.
Yes.
Because if someone actually did some work, maybe because of poor document keeping and record keeping at the counties, then the county now is going to be battling in court, being sued for failure to pay bills which might be actually genuine.
Yes. I want to put you on the spot this morning, Reginald, so we can actually get the economic perspective of this question. Treasury is of this idea. The president, over the other side, wants to spur business within the economy. And one of those biggest areas where the president actually did point out is that, wait, we have people that are doing business with our governments, that's the county governments, but then at the end of the day, they have to wait for 5 years, 3 years, some even as 6 years to actually get paid. And therefore he says this is one of those areas that are pegging the economy down. So the president says, look, any county that's going to get into business, but then at the end of the financial year, they have pending bills, don't give them money. Because these are the same ones who are killing liquidity in the economy, because they should be giving this money to these business parcels. So this business parcel can actually go out and create employment. So don't you think that they have a point here? Well, they have no legal mandate actually to go down and tell the counties, well, you need to spend your money in A, B, C, D. I have given you our money, spend it. But at the end of the day, you come and tell me, well, the people that I actually spent it on, I've not paid them. Mm-hmm. Is that not a proper standpoint from an economic perspective? Spend this money. Don't come with a negative balance to me, because I expect you to spend it.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Yes.
Most of the money that goes to counties, if you look at the breakdown of it, 80-90% of it is recurrent. It's actually just to pay salaries.
Yes.
It's literally just to pay recurrent expenditure.
Yes.
So if you give me money and you tell this is money and 80% of it is spent on paying salaries, most probably you don't give me the right to borrow, so I have no capacity to borrow. I have no capacity to generate my own revenue, but I'm expected to develop the area. I'm expected to, so the question that comes now, even these businesses that we are paying, are these businesses that have been in existence? Are these businesses that actually employ 50, 100, 200 people? Mm-hmm. Or are these businesses that were just set up to win a county tender?
Yes.
And supply something and afterwards the business does not exist?
Yes.
Is something that we actually need to look at. Because the velocity of money in an economy is not just pumping money into paying you your supplies. Because if I give you back your money,
yes,
you had costs that you incurred. So it's not like if we pay you $1 billion, the economy is going to benefit from $1 billion. You're going to pay off your costs. Hopefully the things were actually generated locally,
Yes.
then you have money moving in the economy. The velocity of money increases in the economy. What we currently have, our problem of velocity of money in the economy is not because businesses are not getting paid.
Yes.
The main problem is because government has become the largest borrower in the economy. All the liquidity that is in the bank, most of it is wiped out by government bonds and government borrowing.
Yes.
And when government borrows, they are also borrowing for recurrent expenditure. So we can't say this is the thing that has been stopping money from circulating in the economy. Circulation of money in the economy depends on demand and transactions that are available.
Yes.
So I can have $1 billion, but if I don't have anything to spend the $1 billion on, I am actually not going to spend the $1 billion. 90% chances I'm going to save it. And saving is the direct opposite of investing.
Yes.
Because it removes consumption and demand from the economy.
Yes.
So I do not think they have a standpoint by doing another wrong by saying I'm not going to give you money. Because by not giving the county money, that means they're not paying salaries. Yeah, they're going to have to lay off staff. And in the counties right now, the county governments are the largest consumers, are the largest component of aggregate demand.
Yes.
So if we don't have money, you are actually shooting yourself in the foot by denying the county the money.
Yes.
Because if you had given them, they paid the salaries, the guy who's been paid the salary is going to buy bread, the guy who makes the bread will make more bread, who will go to the farmer, get the wheat, then you start having multiplier effects.
Yes.
And I've always said it, I don't think we have an economic model that we are working on in Kenya. We are more react, and we have more of reaction to the problems. And the current reaction was throw money at anything that is not working.
Yes.
We have too much rice, 600 billion supplementary budget. We have too much potatoes, throw money. So we've just been throwing money at problems, hoping that will solve the problem. And
Yes.
that is not a long-term plan, which goes back to say, what is the economic model that we are following as a country to say, if things move this way, this is how we react. So there's no certainty
Yes.
in policy. There's no certainty in monetary or in fiscal policy, even for businesses to plan. And
Yes.
when there's no certainty, most people will just rather wait and see. Which now starves the economy out of the money that they want to circulate.
Yes.
Because if I'm not sure how Treasury is going to react to a certain situation because there's no economic model that they are following, I'll rather wait and see how they react first, and then I make the next step going forward.
Yes. I also want us to look at exactly what happened last week, which is now actually scribbled into the numbers that the Treasury is giving us. Now, the Controller Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, did ask the counties to table reports of all the people they pay outside the official payroll system, which is understandable. Yes, if you want to continue, if you want to work within a county, you have to actually get more people to come in and help you work around also improving the county affairs. They said no. They told her, look, this is not your mandate. Your work is to come in and see exactly what we're doing and then advise us and then table a report which the members of parliament are going to actually debate over in the House. As it turns out now, Treasury has said that only 58% of all the books represented in Treasury are payable. They feel that 42% they won't be factored in this financial year because they feel that there is lacking and some counties have actually stepped out of the official systems of running their businesses. What does that show you therefore? Is it foul play going on in the counties? Because if 48% of all the books represented to the Treasury by the counties cannot actually and not payable, what does that mean? And they're refusing to give us books to go to the Controller of Budget offices. Don't you see some foul play there, which actually therefore goes back to Treasury saying, well, I mean, you can see 48% of you, we cannot pay this because you've stepped out of the official mandate. All of you don't want to give your books to Controller of Budget so that she can see exactly what you're doing. Is that no foul play going on in the counties?
They say a son learns from the father.
Yes.
We also, apart from devolving politically, we also devolved corruption.
Yes.
Because I'm not surprised. If we want to also go down to the books of Treasury,
yes.
How many of their expenditures are actually proper? How many of the expenditures
they would like to think they're proper.
they would like to think they're proper. But corruption
Yes.
is a big problem
Yes.
in the country, and especially when things start going off the books, it just tells of one thing: it's corruption. If something was genuine,
Yes.
why would it not follow the normal process and procedures? Whether it's a consultant that you hired or
Yes.
consultants, there are processes and procedures, how consultants are supposed to be hired, how they're supposed to be paid, how the consultants pays also their tax
Yes.
and everything. It should be transparent. But I think it would be too hard on the counties to say, hey, but 48%, as in they've learned it from somewhere. And if you're thinking that the problem is record keeping, document keeping, and following policies and procedures,
Yes.
what are we then doing to fix that? Because denying the money, it doesn't solve the problem. Yeah, because at some point in time, you're actually going to have to give that money constitutionally.
Pretty much.
You can be sued to court, and if I was the counties, I would say we want it with interest.
Yes.
On top of it for holding their funds.
Yes.
The treasurer should just say, one, we are broke, and that's why we are trying to spread out how to pay money, not to look for excuses to say why they are not paying money. The government is broke.
Yes.
As much as they can print money, I know they don't want to do that electronically. They can just do that, credit the county accounts. So it is not right for them to deny the control of budget. The question is, does she have the mandate to do that? Which is the institution that has oversight over county finances and funds?
Yes.
Is it the Auditor General? Has the Auditor General raised those questions? Are they based on the Auditor General's report? Because yet again, for example, if I'm a governor or I'm a county executive for finance running a county, you don't want to report to 20 people. Because your job now becomes reporting instead of actually implementing strategy and policy to actually grow the county.
Yes.
So if I know I have to report to the Auditor General, and this is the information I'm supposed to report, let that be known in advance. Not that people wake up and say, no, give us this book. But the question is,
Yes.
I'm giving you this book as who? I'm giving you this book as how. Senate have oversight over counties. Was it the Senate Finance Committee that said, we need to verify these books? We are not happy with what you are spending in this county. So it's as I keep on saying, that devolution was rushed to. These are part of the pains that we are going through.
Yes.
But if we don't address them, if you don't address the problem and you just keep on addressing the symptoms, then this learning process of devolution is going to take a very long time.
Yes.
But it has a lot of potential of catapulting a lot of people out of poverty in this country, as long as it's actually done in the proper and right way. And we need to sit down as a country. The national government needs to sit down, Parliament and Senate, and say, guys, what are we suffering at the counties?
Yes.
What do we need to put in place to sort out these revenue leakages or these extraordinary expenditures? One thing I asked is, what county is good in what? Right now we have 47 counties, but we don't know what county is good in what. So if I know that, okay, guys, minerals and stuff like that are found in this county, yeah, we know that that county has to come up with ways of how do you harness those minerals, how do you make the revenue that comes from these minerals benefit people that are around you. If a mine is being put, what is the social responsibility of that mine around? What revenue can the county generate from that mine, and not wait for the main government to tax, then ask for tax. We need to do all those studies and say, okay, we are a county, we are Mombasa County, tourism is our best thing. How much do they generate as a county and remains in the county from tourism itself? What do they need to boost the main revenue generator, which is tourism? So there is that discussion that needs to be done. Sit down and say, what are you guys good at?
Yes.
You two counties, you might actually be better together.
Yes.
And you might generate more jobs and more revenue for your people and pull people out of poverty, and even have a bigger say in politics if you are together. But if we chest thump, ego, and want to keep your small county, which is generating no revenue, has no potential of generating revenue by itself, then we are not going anywhere as a
That's
country.
exactly why it is, isn't it? All right, Reginald, I just want us to move to the next issue that we have this morning. Good. Now, this is a big one as well. Now, Moise funding. To end, I just want us to spend a couple minutes on this. Now, the Treasury is set to stop funding the office of the late President, Daniel Arap Moi, in what will save taxpayers hundreds of millions in retirement benefits offered to the former head of state. Moi, who died on February 4th, had been receiving retirement benefits since leaving office in 2002. That is 18 years down the line, including a fleet of luxury cars, a fully furnished office, and about 40 workers. Now, the Treasury says that the office will cease to exist and some of the workers will be declared redundant. If the law is applied strictly, the pension payment for Moi should also stop promptly. operating Moi's office and that of former President Mwai Kibaki. Now, wait a minute, it will cost the taxpayer 243 million shillings in the year to June, with a compensation to their own staff, excluding staff seconded from the government, according to which is going to amount to 126 million shillings. Wow. Estimates by Treasury indicate that the cost of maintaining former presidents in retirement will fall by nearly 250 million. SRC last year, in its bid to cap the government expenditure, proposed to slash the amount of money spent on running retired presidents' offices, a move that was shot down by the president. Is it time to finally discuss how much retired presidents take home from the national budget, and how possible is it to cap this value? It is just costing us 243 million shillings to run 2 offices. That is excluding the staff actually that gets seconded from the government as well. That goes all the way to 126 million shillings. So if you put it together, we're talking about close to 400 million. Is it time that we spoke about this? Because the wage bill is also a factor that the president is trying to address. But last year, SRC did tell the president, look, if you want to start from on top. Let's slash the amount of money we spend in the retired president's offices. The president did say, no, don't touch that. You can look for other ways, but no there. Is it reasonable for us to start from there?
I think the question we need to find out when they say the office of the former president.
Yes.
What does that office do?
That's it.
Are we creating an office? If we have an office and that's the office of the former president, these are the responsibilities of the former president.
Yes.
It makes sense to justify 40 employees.
Yes.
I think as I know a former president can't go back into the private sector and become a CEO or a board member, but nothing stops them from running a business and an organization for themselves. I believe, yes, it can be reduced, because I believe a former president, once they have their security detail, which doesn't need to be that many, 4 or 5 guys, their driver, a secretary, but the element of who cooks in their house, who cleans their house, should now become their personal responsibility, because they are paid a pension at the end of the month. Every month they are actually paid a percentage of what their last salary was, I think, which is 70 or 80%, which is enough to pay your cleaners. So if you want to have 50 cleaners, that's now depending on how much of your pension you want to spend on it. But for the state and taxpayer to continue paying for cleaners, cooks, for a retired president, I think continues to have a burden on the country. Right now it doesn't look so much because of the African problem of having presidents that stay forever. But imagine if the US, which has 45, 46, whatever former presidents, and some of them are still alive, where you can even have close to 10 or 12 alive. We'll be talking
about billions
of maintaining. And all your security forces, most of them are protecting retired presidents. So, and most of them are not even that mobile. They are mostly in a certain area for a week, So I think we can actually reduce what we give to the former presidents. Let's rationalize it. If you want to rationalize the whole conversation, say, yes, there's the office of the former president. What does this office do? What does this office need? If it has a specific role, apart from receiving political people coming to ask for wisdom and favor, if there's any other thing that is of benefit to the national economy, then we say, give him a driver, give him a security detail in case he rubbed other people the wrong way and they still want to get after him. 4 or 5 security guards should be enough. Give him a secretary or a press secretary if they need so. But now their day-to-day life and everything,
leave it to them.
The families to the question is, why are you paying them a pension and you're still paying everything that is to do with them? Then we choose, do you pay them a pension or do we pay their living expenses?
That should be the conversation.
Exactly.
It's not even clear what the office of the retired president actually does do. What we prove to you is that now the 250 million shillings that the Treasury has been spending on that will come down considerably. We're just waiting for that announcement to be effected. Therefore, I just want us to move into the next one as well, Reginald, this morning, is this industry. It's a big one. But therefore, there seems to be now problems around it. They're saying that much of the problems that happen within Kenya, theft, raping cases and all that, accidents as well, traffic misconduct, you can actually find it within this industry. Now, an NCRC report, a product of a survey conducted in 24 counties in 2019, wants NTSA to work with the national police and county governments to weed out rogue and criminal riders from the industry. The report, which is currently before the National Assembly, proposes mandatory formal motorcycle training for all operators. The operators will be required to acquire rider's license, certificate of good conduct, helmet and reflector jackets before being allowed on the Kenyan roads. I don't want to go far because there's so many talking points really here, even as the report gives us something out of it. But it's well known that before a boda boda rider gets on the road, those are the things that you need to have. That a police officer should not see a boda boda rider move past them without a helmet, a reflector, and a driving license. Is the report telling us that yes, now, for the longest time possible, we've just allowed this to continue without anybody from NTSA, from traffic police officers, giving a damn about it?
Which is true. I think close to 70-80% of the boda boda riders don't have a valid driving license.
I can actually testify to that.
They don't have any insurance.
Yes.
For their boda boda in case of any accident on the boda boda. Most of them, yes, you find them with no reflector jackets or helmets, or even the passengers on the boda bodas not wearing helmets.
Yes.
But I think the problem is actually even bigger than the boda boda industry, because boda bodas are not actually cheap. They're actually expensive compared to getting an Uber, Lito, or a Taxify,
yes,
or any other or public transport, getting into a KBS or City Hopper or Double M. Boda boda are actually more expensive. Take a boda boda from Upper Hill to Kileleshwa, you pay 500. Take a Taxify or it's called what, Bolt now, or,
yes,
or Uber, you pay most probably 200, 300. Even if you connect from Upper Hill to town, you'll pay 30 shillings. Get another matatu from town to Kileleshwa, you pay 50 shillings.
Yes.
So it's actually cheaper. So the mushrooming of the boda boda industry is a testament of a failure of a public transport system in the country, which has caused every person to go buy a car and put their car on the road, create a lot of traffic. So boda boda has become a fast and convenient way of avoiding traffic.
Yes.
So if you want to first deal with this problem, is again dealing with boda boda is accepting that we are not going to deal with the traffic menace and the collapse of our public transport system in the country. But if you actually fix your public transport system in the country, you'll find demand for boda boda rides will also drastically reduce.
Yes.
Come back to licensing, as you said. You find police will stop every vehicle and let boda bodas pass, and they're thinking, this boda boda, I'm 100% sure has no insurance,
yeah, and
has no
helmet,
no
reflector,
and no license. So if the law enforcement is not enforcing the law,
yes,
then they become a law on themselves. That's why you find they don't follow traffic rules. They don't follow, and some of them, I don't blame them for not following traffic rules because they actually don't know them. Yeah, he cuts from one triple lane to another triple lane, does a U-turn in the middle, there are lane splitting, there are all those things are testament of that this is someone who's actually not gone, one, to be trained on traffic laws,
yes,
two, not just to be trained on traffic laws, to be trained on his own safety. But some of the things that they do is just a small touch that will send him flying, and that's why their deaths are also a lot. Three, they are not structured, and because of not being structured, that's why most of them end up going into crime.
Yes.
Because the process they make in a day is very little. So someone now tries to complement by saying, okay, I'll carry the thugs with the guns, make a bit of
yes,
extra money,
yes,
on it. So regulation also needs to come on that front. Do we allow boda bodas to operate 24 hours?
Yes.
Or do we say by 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. after people leave work, no boda boda travels after this hour in these, especially the residential areas.
Yes.
Because that's where most of the border gun slinging criminals actually do what they do.
Yes.
So there are a lot of things that need to be sorted, starting from the public transport system in the country. Fix that, you'll find that the demand for borders will reduce.
Yes.
And most probably will go back to rural areas where it has been,
yes.
where they're carrying people from point A to point B. And at that place, he will not even perform crime because
yes.
he is known. This border is for so and so who stays there. So there's that social policing that happens. But you find crime on borders is normally in these areas because we don't know the border riders. They are not marked there, as in literally they are a law to themselves.
Yes.
So apart from enforcing the laws on them, the government also needs to just sort out the public transport system in the country to reduce the demand for this risky method of transport. And the police should literally enforce the laws on borders.
Pretty much. That's exactly what is lacking this morning as we talk about this industry. Reginald, I wish we could continue, man. I'm getting told that we only have just a minute left. And that minute, I will just tell you exactly what we had prepared for you at the last end of our conversation this morning, where Cicely Kariuki has put a blame on procurement officers for the MES. Reginald, I just want to pick one response from you. 15 seconds. Is it okay that she's saying, guys, it's not me, it is the procurement officers?
The buck stops with her, but she is correct. The CS actually does not procure, does not sign procurement documents. It's actually done by the PS and the procurement department. What I will only float here is that you now don't have to wait until you go to Parliament to pass the blame. You are still the person in charge of that ministry. Why not take action on those procurement officers? Why not take action on that PS who signs those tender documents and who is part of the tender process? As the leader of the ministry. But she is correct. If anything has to do with tendering, procurement and everything, unless she's in collusion, the people that actually have the first line of fault is actually the PS and the procurement officers.
Pretty much. That's exactly how we come to the end of our conversation this morning. But one good thing about it is you can actually go back to YouTube right now and get to be part and parcel of this conversation, because as we do know, Business AM is live at Metropole TV Kenya's YouTube page, and you can actually get those questions coming in now for Reginald on 2146. That's your SMS line, and we shall be sure to send them straight to him from our Metropole TV studios. That's exactly how we come to the end of Business AM, but not to step away, because as we come back, we shall be telling you what is trending in other different sectors of the Kenyan economy. Good morning.